Joss, Mr. Whedon, you've got to stop ringing me up while I'm doing my DCEU daily videos. No, I cannot talk to Walter Hamada about you getting your writer-director's gig back on the Batgirl. Sorry, stop ringing me up. I have subscribers, I have, an audience to please. I can't have you ringing me up every time I'm doing a video. It didn't work out for you on Justice League. I get it wasn't your fault. I mean, it's bad enough you've commissioned a Buffy reboot, which I think is insane, right? But anyway, you need to stop ringing me up. I can't help you. You're done. You're done. Get on with your little show on HBO and leave me alone. Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here, and you are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, and welcome to Sunday's edition of the DCEU Daily. And I'm going to start this edition of the DCEU Daily by wishing Henry Cavill, our Superman, a magnificent Superman, a very, very happy May the 5th, and a very, very happy birthday. Henry Cavill, you're a great Superman. You were fantastic in Man of Steel. You gave a Shakespearean performance as far as I'm concerned, as you did in Batman v Superman. And even though they kind of embarrassed you in Justice League, you still gave a great performance. I loved the race with Barry Allen. I loved the stuff with Cyborg. You're a great Superman. You're a great actor. And I wish you all the best for your future as an actor and as a person. I will support you in The Witcher. I hope you get every single birthday gift you desire. But the biggest birthday gift I want you to get, Henry, is a phone call from Walter Hamada and Warner Brothers that they have commissioned you to be in another Superman movie. We can only hope. Of course, I spoke a lot about Henry and Superman yesterday. I was ranting about us, the audience, the consumer, us who pay our money to watch DC and Warner Brother content, not being told what the hell is going on with Superman. And you can check that video out on my library, of course. So a very happy birthday to Henry Cavill. So I want to talk about Dave Pienaar, who is the film junkie. You've probably heard of him if you're a big kind of DCEU fan, Snyder fan. Dave Pienaar, the film junkie, has been one of the great gladiators in the fight to release the Snyder Cut. But he's also a very measured young man. He's a very funny young man. He's a very talented young man. And so basically, I just want to talk about him a little bit because he's been attacked by certain Zack Snyder fans because he, like me and a lot of us, enjoy Shazam and are saying it's not a flop. There's lots of people saying it's a flop. There's lots of fans who believe if every WB picture flops, then they'll get the Snyder Cut. It's not going to happen. They are not going to be deterred from their current course. They are going to make individual movies, and if they feel like it, there'll be connectivity there. And if they don't feel like it and they don't think it fits kind of the agenda of the film, it won't happen. Shazam's box office isn't going to change that. So, and basically, just Dave was getting attacked. He was even called a CUNT by someone. So I just want to say one thing and one thing only about this. If you're one of the people who goes around attacking people who don't have the same opinion as you, or who yesterday were attacking Dave, you're no friend of mine, and you're no friend of this channel. You're no friend of Big Mouth. I'm sorry, that's not how we conduct ourselves. That's not how we speak to each other. Heated debate, great debate is a beautiful thing in this birth of the internet culture, but attacking people, swearing at people is just not very good. And I won't stand for it, and no one will stand for it. And you absolutely deserve to go away in a cold room and think about your actions. So I went onto Twitter this morning, and there's quite a few rumours that originally, when Zack Snyder was running the DCEU, in fact, Batman was supposed to cameo on Aquaman. So I did a bit of research, and I spoke to a few people that I know. And this, in fact, is true, which leads me to the main subject of this video today, and that is to connectivity or to not connectivity, right? I spoke about it earlier. Warner Brothers and Walter Hamada and Peter Safran are going to be undeterred in doing kind of standalone movies. Now, there will be connectivity sometimes and sometimes there won't be. It's going to be there, but it's not going to be It's not going to be like the 3 billion kind of end game kind of thing where you reach a climax and you do everything and you start a new story like the TV show premise they've got. And when we look at Endgame, potentially could make $3 billion by when all said and done, right? And it could go beyond that. I mean, it's an amazing amount of money. It's a disgustingly huge amount of money, and I think they should donate half of it to charity. I really do. It's such a lot of money, and you know what Feige has achieved is outstanding. But I don't want to talk about Kevin Feige. I want to talk about us. I want to talk about the DCEU. I want to talk about DC well. And are we right to go in this direction now under these new heads? It's a very interesting situation. Listen, Marvel's success depresses me. I applaud them. I do. You can't criticize them. You can say their films are generic and bland sometimes, but the point is, it's this TV format. People will watch any of the movies because it's all connected. That's the trick, and it's working. Clearly, you look at Captain Marvel, which is a very ordinary, bland film, but people came in to watch it just for a little hint about Endgame. They've got people on the hook, and we'll see what the future holds there. So a lot of people are saying, well, the connectivity, they tried the connectivity and it didn't work with Zack Snyder. In fact, it was working to a point. It wasn't working on the level of the MCU, but Man of Steel and Batman v Superman have great connectivity. They do. Now, Batman v Superman is a much maligned movie by the general audience, but that doesn't matter. The film made just under $1 billion. Of course, a Batman and Superman movie should make more, but it doesn't. It was It was solid box office at the end of the day. And there was a core audience who, including me, that really enjoyed that film. So, then you go to Suicide Squad. Again, lots of connectivity there. Wonder Woman was more kind of solo. You had a few Bruce Wayne hints in there. And then, obviously, we don't need to talk about Justice League because that's when the mentality changed. And really, if you look at Justice League, and you look at the tone of Justice League, we've kind of got the same tones in Aquaman, even though there are dark moments. And with Shazam, it's a very funny light movie mixed in with some darker elements. So I think the studio as a whole have seen what Disney have done and maybe realised that I wouldn't say that's the way to go, but maybe they think there's more money in that. The money's not in the light tone, the money's in the connectivity. In this thing where everything continues, it's a serial. It's a serial. That's what the MCU is, and they've pulled it off. Now, here's the thing. Will a DCEU, a DC World film, ever come close to making $3 billion going the way they're going now, which is focusing on the film? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think anyone's going to get to this level because Endgame is what it says on the tin. This is a culmination of 20 movies, 10 years, 22 movies, 10 years, and this is the end of this first arc of the MCU. That's why it's made so money, because people enjoy it and people want to be there, want to be part of the celebration. It's a very special event. And I think if DC and Warner Brothers had their heads put on straight, they could have put it on. They could have pulled it off too. Whether that would have been with Zack Snyder or someone else, I don't know. But at the end of the day, right, there's only one Kevin Feige, and he's the only one who seems to be able to pull this off, because we've had Universal trying to get their Monsters universe up and running. They've got that wrong. But it's about making correct decisions as a business and, bad decisions as a business. So with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, they're very, very controversial movies. So if you want to make, kind of direct-to-focus controversial movies that just focus within those pictures, but Snyder's films did have that connective tissue anyway. But you've got to understand you're not going to make as much money as Feige's plan. It's as simple as that. So Warner Brothers, this is what happened with Justice League. As a company, they were looking across the road and they were saying, we want some of that. Get me some of that. It's like now, this potential $3 billion for Endgame. Studios ain't going to say, let's stop making superhero movies and franchises. This is going to make them do it even more. But before you do something, you've really got to think about what you're doing. That's what Feige did. That's what Feige did. So now we're here after Justice League where they say, let's focus within the movie. But of course, by all means, if we can fit in some connective tissue, we will. So they will still be connected. Now, we're going to have to wait and see if what Walter Hamada and Peter Safran are doing is going to work. If they can get the... I think we've got to stop comparing ourselves to the MCU. It isn't going to work. Now, in an ideal world, we would now have a connective DCEU. In fact, we still got a connective DCEU. But when I go back to 2006 when Superman Returns came out, and when I go back to 2005 when Batman Begins came out, right? They started making, right, three or 4 years before Iron Man, right? Batman Begins comes out, right? Listen to me. Now, in 2006, Superman Returns comes out, right? Then I think the Green Lantern movie come out after that? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying? That they could have started a popular connective franchise before the MCU did it, and we would have been the successful ones now. They could have had Batman Begins, Superman Returns, and Green Lantern connected to each other. For Christ's sake, Green Lantern was the first superhero movie to actually have a post-credit scene. It had a post-credit scene, and a pretty awesome one at that. It was all there. But DC and Warner Brothers didn't think, hang on, we've just done Batman Begins, Superman Returns, Green Lantern, The Dark Knight, right? The Dark Knight kicks everything off. All of a sudden, it's popular. If they were connected, the whole franchise would have been popular. This is what happened with Avengers Assemble, right? That kicked everything off to a point of mainstream popularity. So DC and Warner Brothers had it all there, and they didn't think. They didn't think as a company potential in these films we're releasing to be connected. So we are where we are now. So Man of Steel comes out, Batman v Superman comes out, Suicide Squad comes out, but Wonder Woman comes out, a very popular film, right? And then we go to Justice League, so it's a dive again. Aquaman we're up again. Basically, in terms of Shazam, it's Ant-Man and the Wasp. So people really enjoy the film, but it isn't going to be kind of a franchise maker or breaker. It's just a film that people don't really know the character. They went and enjoyed it, but people were never going to swarm to go and see that film. It really, look, the big aspect, the next big step for the DCEU is going to be Wonder Woman 1984. That's for me the maker or breaker. We've had so many rumours about this film. It's been put back, and this is the film. You know, I think that basically, what's it called? What's the film coming out with Harley Quinn next year? I keep on forgetting. Anyway, that one, right? That's not a maker or breaker. I think people will enjoy that film. That film will be fun. It'll do okay, but that's not a maker or breaker. Wonder Woman is the one because of the first Wonder Woman film, right? The anticipation is really high for this film. This is a hardcore DCEU film that has to work in every aspect. Whatever they're trying to do, I've told you my theory and what I've heard about it not even being set in Earth 1. We will see what happens, but there must be some kind of explanation. You see, in a way, they've kind of written themselves in a corner. They're putting a lot of pressure on themselves by bringing Steve Trevor back. Because a lot of people see the death of Steve Trevor as a great heroic moment. And by bringing him back, you're kind of undoing that. So the explanation for his return has to make sense. It has to be feasible. And either he's been in Ra's al Ghul's pit, or he's a clone, which I can absolutely accept, or he's an Earth 2 Steve Trevor. I can accept any of those. So what they're doing has to work, or we're going to be back to square one. And this, and these are the things. I mean, Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns have pretty much written this film on their own. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I love Maxwell Lord in the comics. So also they had a great version of him in Smallville as well for an episode. So was it Checkmate, I think? So look, it's exciting times, but it's also worrying times. I mean, so if you want to corner me with a gun and say, Mick, make your mind up, connective or not to be connective. I want to see great individual films, but basically, right, it would have been great if we continued with what Snyder was doing, because Snyder was going to a very good place, right? He started off kind of Superman in a bit of a kind of dark place. People weren't accepting him. And then obviously in Batman v Superman, some people love Superman and some people don't. And you've got the whole thing with Batman. So then Snyder would have risen him up again, right? And at first, Darkseid's controlling him. But then he rises up and he stands with his other friends. Exactly what Jor-El says. You know, in the end, you know, people will look to you. Or I forgot the kind of dialogue that he says in Man of Steel. So it was all there for eventually for Superman to rise up to be the hero that everybody knows and loves. But Snyder and Terrio and Goyer were just trying to take the character on a journey. So if they stuck with it, I think we would have been at a really... I think Snyder's Justice League would have been a very popular film. Although I think the first draft could have been controversial. So it's all ifs, buts and maybes. But the truth of the matter is Warner Brothers have just made so many mistakes. And they have made money on this franchise. They have. Really, Justice League is the only one you could say broke even. Man of Steel made around 600 million globally. Batman v Superman, 850 million globally. Suicide Squad, just around 800 million. Wonder Woman, over 800 million. You know, Aquaman made $1 billion. And Shazam, even though I think it's about nearly 400 million global, it's about 3 or 4 times what they spent on it. So there's profit there. The amount is not a great deal in terms of other superhero movies or the DCEU's history, but it's still a profit. It's still a little film that did well, and that's the way you've got to look at it. So this film franchise has been profitable. It just hasn't been as profitable as the MCU. But at the same stages, I think if you compare, and I've said this before, to MCU's pre-Avengers standalone movies and the DCEU's pre-Justice League standalone movies, I think that the DCEU has actually made more money. But then once the first Avengers film happened, then all bets are off. So we're at a situation now where they're trying to kind of reassert the road for this franchise. Now, whether it's successful or not, and it captures the imagination like the MCU has, we'll never know. I think at the moment, and it's a very frustrating time to be a DC fan when you look at this film Endgame and the money and the popularity it has, but we're just going to have to ignore them and hope that we keep on getting films in the quality of Aquaman and Shazam, and eventually we can get another good Justice League movie. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. But I think patience is needed. I think in the next few weeks there will be big announcements. But I also think this year's San Diego Comic-Con is going to be the biggest of all time. And not just for DC and for Marvel and for other franchises. I think it's massive. But our focus is on DCEU, DC World, whatever you want to call it. I think in this year's San Diego Comic-Con, there's going to be some massive announcements for the future of this franchise. So we need to hold our breaths till then, and we'll see what we'll get. So until tomorrow's DCEU Daily, I shall see you in the next video, whenever that may be. Have a good Sunday.